to develop our skills. Okay, now we're trying something a little bit different. You can notice that the background, in my opinion, is a little nicer. We have all our books, all our study material, and that's just because we are trying to make it, a little bit more attractive to you guys. So it would be great if you can tell us if you like the background, if you like the style, if you want us to keep doing it in this style, just so that we know if you're comfortable. Our blackboard is a little bit smaller, a little bit more comfortable, and of course a little bit closer so you can read better. um, if you have any problem seeing it, if you don't think it's clear enough, please let us know and we're going to try to improve that. Okay. Now, before we continue, tell me, guys, where are you from? Okay, so I see Mutko saying that they're from Bangladesh. Excellent. Very good. It's a pleasure to meet you, Mutko. Uh, and I don't think I have students from Bangladesh, but I always see some people from there in the chat and in the live lessons. So welcome all of you guys. I see some people from Lithuania. Uh-huh. I see people from Ghana. Excellent. Go team Ghana. Uh, Italy, Anna from Italy, Marcella from also from Italy. All right, that's cool. Doi from the Kingdom of Cambodia. I see some people from Korea, from Pakistan, from Brazil, from Japan, from Turkey. All right, guys, this seems like it's going to be a super, super dynamic live. There are a ton of people from all over the world. Judy from Saudi Arabia, Wilson from Malaysia, someone from the Dominican Republic, Alessio from Brazil. Thank you, my friend. Albania, also from Brazil, Jonas. Someone from India, Rishi. All right, so it's a pleasure to meet you guys. That means that we have a very big audience for a very interesting lesson. Now, don't worry, you guys, because this lesson isn't going to be so theoretical. Actually, we don't really have that many, little things that we need to put up on the board. That's why it's also smaller. But we wanted to make sure that it was nice and fun, right? So to remind you guys, we are going to be looking at how to improve our listening. Just general ways that we can improve our listening through different types of exercises, all right? One thing that I will remind you guys is that we all learn very, very, very differently. There is no right or wrong way to learn. Each one of us has our own style. Each one of us has our own preference. And of course, it's going to be great to talk to each other and learn from each other, you know, to understand if we can also give recommendations amongst the students, amongst the chat. And that would be wonderful. Kalipan, excellent, Kalipan. Thank you so much for being here. What about from the other parts of the world? I see some people from Bulgaria, from Japan, Kusakabe from Japan, Bushra from Turkey, living in the UK. That's awesome. We have a lot of students that are from a certain country, but they're living abroad. Okay. Raja. Okay, perfect. We're going to help you with everything we can, Raja. We're going to answer some questions. Sarah from Italy, that means that we have a very, very nice and growing Italian audience. That's awesome to hear. Okay. Rahul from India, Aich from Oman, Karini from Brazil. Hello, Karini. All right, perfect, guys. Now, before we continue, I want to remind you all that we have, of course, as always, a promo code that we're going to be giving away at the end of this lesson. All right, so stay tuned for that. Remember that if you are not yet a member of Cambly, this promo code that we're going to give away is going to give you a very nice discount for all your plans, for all your lessons, and that's going to give you an opportunity to speak to tutors like me or like all of the team and all of my friends that have also given Cambly Lives. You can search for us, you can just type in our name or follow the links below, and that's going to help you guys have classes with us. Okay, so stay tuned for the promo code. I'm going to give that at the end of the lesson, and we're going to get right to it in just a moment. Okay, now, like I said, is this size clear, you guys? Can you see this clearly? Do you like the background? Is everything okay? Just so that we can continue. I'll give you guys a moment to think about it. Okay. Kalipan likes it. She says, yes. Okay. Sounds the universe says, yes, the vision is clear. Clear, sir. Nawang, thank you. Live Academy says, no blur. Dr. Milan says, clear. Blur, perfect. All right, you guys. So it seems that we can continue. You guys can see. And we're going to get right into it. So before anything, like I was saying, I want to remind you guys. Kasumi says, perfect letter size. Thank you, Kasumi. Kayla says, perfect. It's perfect, Karini. Thank you. Thank you, all you guys. So I'm really happy that you like this style. Like we said, we're trying some new things once in a while to make sure that, our videos are nice and fun. By the way, guys, I wanted to mention something super important. We are about to hit 150,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel. So thank you all for the support. And well, let's get to 150,000. Remember to share this video with your friends. If you can't see the video live, or if you have to miss out on a little bit, if you have a question, if you want to repeat, you can rewatch the video. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel to make sure that you don't ever miss a Cambly Live. And of course, like we were saying, the more you share it, the more we know that we're doing a good job and the more videos we can make. So share it with as much friends as you can. Share it on all your social media profiles. And, let's get to 150,000. Maybe we're going to do something special when we reach that level. Okay. So how to improve listening. Well, this is just a simple list that we're going to go through and that we're going to explain bit by bit. Okay. Don't worry about understanding it. Now, like we said, this is not such a theoretical lesson. This is more a talk about how we can practice and improve our listening. Okay. So I want to stress a lot that different students have different ways of learning. Okay. Not everyone learns the same way, and we can all gain some experience from other ways of learning, just in case. Okay. Now, the first exercise I want to talk about is the subtitle exercise, which is one very, very, very useful exercise. In my opinion, it's one of my favorites. It's one I recommend to my students all the time. Now, before we continue that, guys, how many of you watch movies or series with subtitles? Tell me. All right. I can see some people starting to answer. I know that some students watch some series with subtitles, and that is not necessarily bad. But we have to explain, why is it good, when is it bad, and when can we stop using subtitles. So the subtitle exercise is actually very simple and very straightforward. Okay. Imagine you're watching your favorite show, whatever that may be. It can be a comedy show, it can be an action show, but it should be, close to your level. In my case, my favorite show is The Office. I always recommend it. It's super funny, but it's a little bit advanced. So you don't have to watch specifically that. But what we're going to do with the subtitle exercise is we're going to imagine that we work for a studio. We're going to imagine we work for Netflix or Amazon Prime or HBO, whatever service you like. Okay. Some people say 2.5 Men. Of course, many people like Friends. Most of you guys, I can see Mukto says, sending love. Thank you, Mukto. So I see that many people do use subtitles, right? Okay. So how do we stop using subtitles eventually? How do we improve our listening until we can stop using those subtitles? Adolfo says that 70s show. Yes. How I Met Your Mother, of course, a classic. But how can we stop? Right. You're going to grab your favorite show. Like Nadi says, The Good Doctor. You're going to grab your favorite show and you're going to watch it one day if it's very difficult. So let's say you watch it on Monday nights. You're going to watch the whole episode on Monday. If you need to use the subtitles, it's no problem. You're going to use the subtitles, but then you're going to rest. All right, you're going to watch it, you're going to use the subtitles, maybe even you need to use a translation, and then rest, right? The next day is when you're going to do the exercise. Why? There is a very specific reason why. First of all, because we want to make sure that you guys understand the general story, the general idea, and it's not confusing or worrying you or shocking you or surprising you. So ideally, it's something that you've already watched, something that at least you understand the general idea of, right? For example, many people rewatch. That means that they, like me, I already watched The Office, I finished it, but I like to watch it again, because many people like to do that. Maybe when we're feeling alone or when we're feeling a little sad, it always makes us happy, right? So, for example, Bushra says, I can watch Friends without subtitles because I almost memorized all the lines exactly. That's what I mean, okay? But then the next day, what do? You're going to do this, okay? What you're going to do is you're going to grab 1 minute of the whole episode, only 1 minute, whatever that minute is. That minute, of course, should just have dialogue. As long as it has dialogue, then it's good, all right? So you're not going to do this exercise for the whole episode. No, just 1 minute, okay? And you're going to pretend that you work for Netflix, Amazon, or some other company, some streaming company or a cable company. You're going to pretend you work for them. And they're going to call you up and they're going to say, hey, guess what? We don't have the subtitles for minute 4 or 5. We need you to make them. Now, of course, if they don't have the subtitles, it means you can't use them. You have to make them. Why is this good? How does this help? Well, like I said, we only have to grab one segment, and the activity has a 15-minute time limit. Okay? So, why is that? It's because during 1 minute of video, people say a lot. And what you're going to do is you're going to play it and listen to it as much as you can while you're writing everything they say. You have to understand every word. You have to understand every expression, every pause, every little thing. Okay? So you listen, you write, then you pause. If you didn't finish, you listen again because the activity has a 15-minute time limit. Okay? Listen again and again and again and again, as many times as you need. During this 15-minute time limit, you have freedom to do anything you want. You can pause it. You can rewind it. Some video services, some streaming services, or some websites even give you the option to play it a little slower, right? That way, you're going to force your mind to really pay attention to every little sound, every little word that is being said in the show. Okay? That's something very, very, very important. Okay? Why is this good? Well, because when we're listening to a conversation or when we're listening to a show, we generally understand general ideas. All right? Now, that's not a bad thing, but when we are understanding general ideas, we don't really understand the sounds, the individual words, the individual expressions, or anything like that. And that's not so positive because it means that there's a limit to how much we listen to. There's a limit to our comprehension. Okay? So you can do that with any show that you like. You can do that with your favorite show, with a children's show, with a documentary. And obviously, some are more difficult than others. I usually recommend children's shows or teenage shows or cartoons because they're generally a little bit more clear, right? After you reach that level, you can usually go to documentaries. Documentaries are very clear, but sometimes they talk about things that are a little bit more complicated. After you can do this type of exercise with documentaries, then you can go to normal dramas or TV shows. And then you can go on to something like YouTube or a podcast where people talk very naturally, and sometimes they speak very fast, they use slang. So that's usually the hardest level because people are not being the most clear like in a TV show. Okay. Now, like I said, this is a 15-minute exercise. It's not so hard, but it's really, really useful. It's one of my favorites to actually help my students improve. Now, I'm going to answer some questions about this exercise specifically, and then we'll move on to the other one. Okay? So, is it helpful to understand the general idea of a movie, or I have to understand each and every word? Khalid, exactly what I was saying, Khalid. First, I recommend to understand the general idea. So first, you can watch it with subtitles, or you can watch it with the audio of the language you speak. First, that's one day. So you understand the general idea and it's clear, right? If you understand the general idea, that gives you a very solid basis to understand all the smaller details. Okay. So if it's necessary, if you're a beginner, if you're intermediate, I recommend understanding the general idea first. If you are a little bit more advanced, then you can go directly to trying to understand each and every word, although that's going to be a little harder. Okay. I have listening problems, says Sounds of the Universe. For example, I know the word, the sound is clear, but not than I doing here clear. I'm not really sure I understand the question, my friend. I think what you mean is sometimes people understand the sound, but they're not exactly sure which word, or they're not exactly sure how to pronounce it. This is good because there are many, many words that are very similar. They sound really similar. All right. So that's the kind of thing that you have to figure out. Now, remember, with this activity, you have to write the words. So it's a good practice also for a little bit of writing. And then you just double check. After these 15 minutes are over, you can rewatch that 1 minute clip. You can activate the subtitles and you can see, oh, okay, good, 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 good. Oh, here I made a mistake. So you change it because now you saw the subtitles. Now you are sure. Continue. Good, 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 good. Oh, I made another little mistake. So you re-listen, you check the subtitles, and that way you can correct yourself all by yourself. Okay. Now, how can I pay attention to what I hear? Because it's hard for me to fully focus on the sounds while I'm reading the transcript. This is a good thing because this is a good question. I mean, because we don't want to focus on the transcript, actually. First, I want you guys to understand the general idea. So if you need the subtitles or if you need a transcript, that's fine. But then I want you to just leave it and try to focus as much as you can on just the sounds. The advantage of understanding a general idea before or having read the transcript before is that you will understand most of what has already been said. All right. That just means that, for example, if in the show somebody says, oh, I was running and I fell down, you already know the general idea. So you have an idea of what to look for. I was running and I down. So you can sort of guess, or you have, let's say, a clue as to what happened. All right. So, any other questions here? I don't think so. It's really complicated with English listening. Of course, it can be a little tricky, but don't worry about it. Okay? It's just a matter of practice. Sir, so is it good to watch movies with subtitles in English? Like I was saying, Kalipan, it can be good. For this exercise, take them out. So if you need to watch your movies or your shows with subtitles, that's fine, right? But then we want to, slowly do exercises without subtitles. Okay? And Ibtihal says, I have time management problem. Okay, so this is precisely why I recommend this types of exercise. Notice that this exercise is only 15 minutes. That means that you can do it, once when you wake up, once at lunch, once when you have dinner. Always do these kinds of exercises when you're relaxed, when you have a little bit of free time. But because the exercise requires so little time, you can do it all the time you want. You can do it several times a day. You can do it on the weekends. You can do it, I don't know, as many times as you can or want to. Okay, that's one of these advantages. And by the way, that's also a big advantage of Cambly. Remember, guys, that we have classes from 15 minutes that go all the way up to much longer lessons to allow you to speak to native tutors like me whenever you want, wherever you are, as long as you have an internet connection. All right, so let's go on to the other exercise. Minimal pairs. This goes a little bit in hand with what Rishi Raj is asking. How do we also improve speaking? How to improve the general language? Minimal pairs are a good little capsule. This is a very short exercises. These are very short exercises that you can do to complement bigger exercises like the subtitle exercises. All right. If you guys don't know what minimal pairs are, they are simply words that are the same except for one little sound and they change. Okay. I recommend listening and pronouncing minimal pairs just to distinguish how different people of different English accents actually pronounce the sound. Right? Think of Pam and Pan. The pan is something that you cook with, right? It's a metal disc and you cook with it. And Pam is a name. Now, I recommend listening to minimal pairs specifically because they're going to force you to notice these small little changes in the sound. And if you don't notice them, a good thing about minimal pairs is that you will at least learn to be careful, let's say, with these types of words. Many people have trouble with, I'm going to write this, though, tough, fought, and through. I'm sure that all of you guys know that during school, when you're learning, when you're practicing writing, these are super hard. These are not exactly minimal pairs, not all of them together, but they are very similar words with very similar spelling, but they vary usually with one subtle sound of pronunciation. So be careful with these types of words. Study these types of words so that you know what to be careful with. Okay. So, Nawang, sir, is it good to listen to many kinds of accents, British, American, to improve listening, or just focus on one of them? Nawang, this is a fantastic question. Because in the beginning, by the way, I'm also a fluency and accent coach. So I teach my students how to pronounce things better, how to understand things better. And yes, there is an answer. But I just want to mention, Kalipan, there is a discount for you and for everybody that wants to join Cambly. We have a promo code right here that we're going to give at the end of the lesson to share with you guys. It's a promo code that gives you a discount so that you can join Cambly. If you're already a member, it will also give you a nice little discount to make sure that you stay with us and you keep enjoying classes. Okay, now back to the question. I always recommend learning something first, whatever it is. All accents are valid. Okay, on our Cambly team and in the Cambly platform, we have many lovely tutors from South Africa, from Australia, from Ireland, from England, from Canada, from the US, like me. And we all have a little bit of a different accent. None of those accents is better. They are all native English accents, and it entirely depends on what you want or need to learn English. If you're going to live in England, for example, of course, probably what is best for you is listening to speakers from that region and learning the language of that, learning the accent, of that region, right? But it doesn't mean you shouldn't focus on others as well, eventually. So, like I was saying, first, focus on the accent that you need the most, the one that you like the most, or the one that's most beneficial for you. And when you feel comfortable with it, Then you can go to other accents, right? Accents that are tricky, accents that are confusing, accents that are not so clear, because they're going to increase your ability to understand. Okay? That's the idea, guys. So very good question, Nawang. Thank you for asking that. Mm-hmm. So let's go to the other exercise, which is shadowing. Now, this goes in hand a little bit with the other exercise, which is audiobooks. You can do them together or you can do them separately depending on your time and if you like them. Right? Let me just get some tape here. Because the idea of these exercises are kind of similar and they can complement each other. Okay? So, shadowing. What is shadowing? Have any of you guys ever heard of shadowing, or have you guys ever done shadowing? It's a relatively simple concept, and it's very, very, very useful. Now, Kalipon says, cast a shadow. It's actually not referring to the shadow like this. This is a shadow, right? Which is the object. But notice how I'm saying shadowing, like a verb, to shadow. To shadow is a little bit different. Mm-hmm. To shadow basically means to copy someone. Okay? I'm going to explain. Let's look at my hand, right? Obviously, my real hand, here it is. My real hand right now is closed, right? When I open it, obviously, my shadow does exactly the same thing. Boop, boop. That's what you have to do. So imagine my hand is a native English speaker and my shadow is a student. So to shadow basically means to do everything that the teacher or your guide says, to copy them, to mimic them, to allow you to do things better. Marvis says, like mimicking. Exactly. Kalipon says, to follow and observe someone closely. Very, very, very good. Don't worry, Kalipon. It's very good that you're participating. So that's the idea, all right? That you have to copy someone, whoever this may be. The advantage of shadowing is that it's a very personal thing and you generally don't need somebody else. You can, of course, try to get advice from someone like us, from a Cambly tutor or someone to help you, but you can do shadowing with a TV show, with a podcast, with a YouTube video, all right? Here's the big thing about shadowing. Don't try to do everything. So, like the subtitle exercise, just choose a short little clip, all right, of someone. For example, right now, I'm going to read a small little text here, and you guys are going to shadow me at home. Now, of course, I can't listen to you guys, but you're going to try to imitate me the best way you can, and then I'm going to explain some details of how to pronounce these things correctly. All right? So there's a simple phrase here that I'm going to read, and you're going to copy. Actually, before I put that here, I'm going to bring it closer to you guys just so that you can see it. Okay? We have seen some of your creative work in the sales department, and we think you have a very good eye for detail. Right now, I set it at a normal speed, which is kind of fast, but I'm going to repeat it again a lot slower so that you have a chance to shadow my mouth. Remember, pronunciation comes from the mouth, all right? So when you're listening to someone and when you're really focusing on how their mouth moves, on how my teeth, my tongue, my lips move, you're going to understand much better what they're doing and why a certain sound is a little different or very similar to others. I'll give another example. Many Brazilian students or Spanish-speaking students have an NM little problem. Why? Because it's very similar. The sound is actually very similar, but if you shadow, if you notice, the N is with the tongue. Na, 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 na. And the M is with our lips pressed together. Ma, 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 ma. Mm-hmm. So shadowing can give you a little help with that and can help you notice the small little differences of how people are pronouncing some things. All right. So I'm going to read this, and you guys are going to try to shadow me. Okay. So we have seen some of your creative work in the sales department, and we think you have a very good eye for detail. Okay. I'm going to say that one more time. At home, guys, try to shadow me, try to copy me. And this is exactly what you can do on your own with any video you like, any TV show, any podcast that you enjoy, just to help you practice. Okay. So I'm going to read it one more time. I'm not going to hold it up, and try to shadow me at home, guys. We have seen some of your creative work in the sales department, and we think you have a very good eye for detail. So now I'm going to put it up. What did you guys think? Was shadowing me difficult? The good thing about shadowing is that it forces you to really notice the differences of how you pronounce things and how a native speaker pronounces things. For example, our friend Alessio is saying, Brazilian people have problems with the letter E at the end of phrases. That's true. I have a lot of Brazilian students and I love them. But something that we notice as a habit is they say E at the end of a phrase, like office, like, make. And if you notice, E, this forces my mouth to open. E. So if I say office, I open. But if you're shadowing me, you're going to notice how I say office. And then it closes. You see? Office. Now, this may be more beneficial if you're actually watching a video, but if not, you can still try to shadow someone based on sound. You just have to be very careful, pay attention to small segments, all right, and no problem. Caliban says, great, she can pronounce like us, perfect. Fatima says, also imitate the speaker's behavior, excellent, Fatima. Ibtihal says, problem with the ing sound. Karini says, some letters are difficult for us. Okay, don't worry. When you notice difficult letters or difficult sounds, that's what you need to shadow the most. That's what you need to practice with minimal pairs the most. So the ing sound for ibtihal. The ing sound is your tongue, the tip of your tongue is down, and then the back of your tongue rises like this. So it sort of hits the top of your mouth. G. And then the g is like a pull from your tongue down. Ing. Right? Tip down, back up. Ing. That's how we pronounce the ing sound. Sound of the universe says some sounds are very difficult, like the letter Y and word Y. Okay, that's actually not always a problem, my friend, because many words have sounds that are the same. We have something in English, and probably in many other languages you have them too, that we call homophones. Homophones. I'm going to write it here just so that you guys can Google it, or that you guys can ask a tutor to help you. A homophone is a word that sounds the same as another word. For example, the color red, like a book. I have a red book. Or read in the past. I read a book yesterday. Now we know that the spelling is R-E-D for the color and R-E-A-D for the past verb. But the pronunciation is exactly the same. Okay, so that's something that you guys can do. You can ask a tutor for help, right? And they will explain that there's a big list of homophones in the English language that sound exactly the same. So you don't have to worry about pronouncing them differently. You can actually understand that they are the same sound. The only problem with homophones is the only way to understand which one we're talking about is through context. So when I say red, the only way to know if I mean the color or the verb in the past is to make a sentence. Only with a sentence can we understand. For example, I read a book yesterday is obviously the verb in the past. Well, the car is red is obviously the color. Eileen says, my problem is the th, as in think. Okay, very good. No problem, Eileen. For the TH, you have to put your tongue right here in the middle. Almost like you're biting. Don't put pressure on your tongue. Don't hurt yourself. It just has to be right here between your teeth. And then you blow or you vibrate. Like them, that, though. Or you blow, think, through, thank you. Perfect. So check those out. Karini says, man, men. This is a minimal pair. Excellent way to practice minimal pairs. Very good. So let's go to the audiobooks and then we'll do voice typing and then we'll finish up. Guys, like I was saying, if you didn't have the opportunity or the time to watch the whole class, don't worry about it. You will be able to watch it on YouTube. But that reminds us, guys, we are near 150,000 subscribers, so please share this video as much as you can. And who knows, maybe we'll do a little special thing when we reach 150 subscribers. Maybe a promo code, maybe a special video or special lessons. We're going to make sure to make you guys happy, but please share it. Make sure that this channel grows so that we can keep making free content for you. And like we were saying, we're going to give out a promo code at the end of the lesson so you can join Cambly as well. All right, so audiobooks. Let's go with audiobooks. Now, a very big problem that many of my students have is that they like audiobooks and they want to use and study with audiobooks, but they don't really know how, or they don't know the best method. We're going to explain it. It is not a good idea to listen to an audiobook at the same time that you're reading. Okay? Why? At least not in the beginning. Okay? At least not in the beginning. Because the human mind has a limited capacity for attention. And the more information you give it, it can be more difficult and more confusing. All right? So we want to make sure that we don't give it too much information that it's difficult. With audiobooks, I recommend something similar to shadowing or to the subtitle exercise. Make sure that you segment the audiobook. Don't try to listen to the whole book in one night or to hours and hours and hours, because like we were saying, very likely you are going to understand the general idea. And we don't only want the general idea. The general idea is the most important, of course, but we don't want to stop at the general idea. We want to also understand individual words, individual expressions to make sure that you can repeat them and you can use them in your daily life. Okay? So, for example, with an audiobook, let's say your favorite audiobook is Harry Potter. It's a nice audiobook, right? So we don't want to listen to much more than one chapter or so per night or per listening session. We want to learn and we want to listen in short segments of 15 to 20 minutes. Okay? This is very important. There is also something that's called the Pomodoro method, which is a general method for productivity and for studying, which says that after a few minutes, you have to take a little break. So you work or you study for 15 to 20 minutes, then you take a little break, and then you do it again, and then you take a little break. That is to keep your mind fresh, to allow you to really, really, really relax and absorb as much information as you can. Okay? Now, with an audiobook, this is what you're going to do. You're going to listen to short clips of 5 minutes, maximum 10 minutes, without using the book. Remember, we do not want to depend on the text. We don't want to depend on the subtitles or depend on the book to help us. That is not going to improve your listening, really. That is going to improve your understanding, but what we want is to force our brain to listen and understand, not to read and understand. Okay? Why? So what we're going to do is we're going to listen to a clip for 5-10 minutes. We're going to try to get as much information as we can. Okay? As much. And whenever we hear a word, an expression, or an idea that we weren't really clear about, we're going to try to listen again once or twice. And if we still can't get it, then we're going to go to the book. Okay? Only at the end of an audiobook, if your objective is listening, should we read the text. And vice versa. If your objective is to really understand the text and to really go deep into it, you don't need an audiobook at the same time. So whatever your objective is, if your objective is reading, focus on reading first, then the audiobook. And if your objective is listening, focus on the listening first, then the book, then the text. Okay? So, very good. If you have any questions with audiobooks, you can ask them. There are many audiobooks I recommend. Like I was saying, Harry Potter is a very good audiobook. It's very general. It has a lot of conversation. Remember, guys, when reading books, when listening to audiobooks, I usually recommend novels or stories. I do not recommend self-help. I know that many people like it, but I think it's really not the best genre to study English, because self-help has a very limited type of ideas and language, and there's usually not conversations, all right? So we want to focus on books that have conversations between characters, novels, stories, plays, right? Poetry, for example, is also not the best for learning to listen to normal, let's say, English. It can be very good to expand your vocabulary. It can be very good for some other things, but not really for listening to normal conversations and, standard English. Okay? So whenever you're listening to an audiobook or reading a book, stay away from things that don't have conversations and try to focus on things where there are different types of characters, when there's a story, when there's something happening. Okay? Amano asks, during listening test, I lost some spelling, but I listened carefully. How can I understand with good pronunciation? Okay. Well, remember that during the listening test, there are different factors. I recommend that you do these exercises to improve your listening. And remember, Amano, if you didn't watch the whole lesson, you can watch this whole lesson in a few moments, right? That's going to be uploaded to Cambly, and share it with your friends. Weira says, I don't know the first question she was asking, but she asked the second one, how about British Council podcast? Yes, podcasts, audiobooks, anything that is clear is a good idea to practice listening with. All right. But remember, short segments. The best podcasts will have a transcript. Okay. So I believe that the British Council or that the BBC will probably have a transcript. All right. But it really does depend on you, on what type of podcast you pick or what subject. Those are no problem as long as they're useful for you. Right. But the ideal podcast has many short clips and it has a transcript. Okay. Alessio, please could you share some app for it? Actually, believe it or not, I don't really recommend apps. I think that many apps try to, give you a lot, but you don't really use. So if you like to use a certain app, most apps are fine. I personally don't use them. I think that you can find most podcasts either on YouTube or on the website of the podcast, and they usually offer the same thing. So you don't need an app for it. If you do want an app, then there are, you can search for different recommendations, but it wouldn't really affect the quality of the English or the quality of the exercise. So you can just choose any app that you personally like or that has features that you enjoy. Okay. So can you tell me the difference between this and these? This is singular. These is plural, right? For example, this finger that are here this or these fingers, because they're plural. Okay. So, how can I make balance between listening and answering questions? Asks Dahal. Well, remember that these are tips for improving your listening. So, this is just one of the pillars of any language. To learn a language, we have 4, let's say, big things that you have to learn: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Okay. They are the cornerstones of how to learn to communicate in any other language. And listening is more or less 25%. Okay. Now, that means that 25% of your time you should focus on listening, and 25% you should focus on speaking, 25% on reading, 25% on writing. So as long as you distribute it more or less like that, you're going to be good. Okay. So, how to speak English in an environment where it is not spoken as a native language or second language. Well, that's a very good question. That's precisely why we made Cambly and why we have Cambly, because anywhere in the world at any time of the day, you can just log in and immediately speak to someone who is native or someone who is a professional teacher like me. Okay. If you're not a member of Cambly, stay tuned for the promo code that we're going to give so you can join. That's an excellent way to practice your English if you're not in a country where many people speak English or you don't know who to practice with. All right. Other than that, you can try to force yourself to do these types of exercises, listen sometimes, speak sometimes, do shadowing, do subtitle exercises, do audiobooks. That's a good complement as well. Samia says, I don't know how to pronounce laughs. Okay, so it's pronounced laughs. I have speech problems. Sometimes my English sounds like my accent. How can I improve my speech? Well, actually, we have more lessons like this coming up for improving your pronunciation, but I have also made some other videos to improve the pronunciation. You can probably find them linked below, or if not, you can go to the YouTube channel, this YouTube channel, and search through our videos. There are many, many videos that we have made to improve pronunciation, to do pronunciation exercises, and there are also some other clips about, different grammar lessons, different tips, and stuff like that. Okay, so I get panicked to speak English when I'm surrounded with more educated people who speak English, Sharon. Don't worry, it's a matter of practice. So as long as you practice as much as you can, you're going to improve. Remember that the main thing about a language is to communicate, not to be perfect. Okay? Active and passive voice. This is unfortunately not a lesson for passive and active voice. There are other videos where you can check that out. You can just search for them on our YouTube profile. Okay. So very, very, very good. Letters, and lettuce. Well, I think you're talking about 2 words. Letters, which is a homograph, meaning that it can have 2 meanings, like a letter or a letter you write, and lettuce has a s sound. Okay. Now, guys, with the last exercise that I actually really, really enjoy and I really recommend is voice typing. Have any of you guys ever used voice typing? Do you know what it is? Because most of you actually have a tool to do it, and it's right there in your pocket. Have any of you done voice typing? Okay. So let me show you guys what voice typing actually is. On your phone, in the majority of phones, it doesn't matter if it's an expensive phone or a cheaper phone. It doesn't matter if it's an Android or anything else. I personally prefer Android. No problem. Almost every phone now has this feature, and it's a very, very useful feature. Kalipan has used it. Thank you, Kalipan. So you know that it can be extremely useful. If you don't know what voice typing is, you can probably search for it on your phone. Whenever you're writing something, there's going to be this little icon, a little microphone. Okay. Let me see if the camera can focus. I don't think so, but you get the idea, guys, right? So it's a little microphone at the bottom of your keyboard when you're using your phone or anything like that. How to use it, or what do we use it for? Why is this good for listening? Well, until now, machines are not really perfect at understanding us, right? Karini says, I really do that with my phone. I speak, then I check if I said it right. Exactly. Very good. So what we're going to do with this little activity is we're going to read a simple phrase. It can be a phrase like this. And if your phone understands you, it means that you're doing it right. Okay? So, for example, you say a phrase like, we have seen some of your creative work in the sales department, and we think you have a very good eye for detail. Right? So you read it, and you activate voice typing. Boop. That will activate a button or another view depending on your phone. And as you are speaking, your phone will try to understand you and actually type the words in text. All right. So when that happens, if you are speaking clearly, it will allow you to say, okay, all of these words are clear. But the way that you said think was not so clear. So the computer probably made a mistake, or your phone made a mistake. If they made a mistake, that gives you a very, 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 very useful clue as to what you're pronouncing correctly and incorrectly. If you pronounce the majority of things correctly, then you have nothing to worry about. And when you make a mistake, that's going to give you a list of words, right, that you have to practice. You can practice listening to them on many websites, on dictionary websites like Merriam-Webster or Oxford or anything like that. All right. And that way you will be able to know how many mistakes you make and what you have problems with pronouncing, and of course what you have problems listening to. If you can't tell the difference, it probably means you have to go practice that word with minimal pairs and really, really shadow that word. All right. So it's going to be very, very useful. If the hell says, how can I activate? Right here on your keyboard for most phones, you have a little icon. That's why we printed out this little keyboard. So just click on that and it will give you the options. Kalipan says, but if you don't give correct pronunciation, that's all your search ends. Well, actually, no, Kalipan. If you don't give correct pronunciation, that means that every word you pronounced incorrectly, you have to review. So all of those words you can do here. You can practice with these exercises. Sir, in homophone words, how do we know the right word when listening? We can't know the right word other than with context. No, Wang. Only with context can we know the right homophone. Okay? Like I was saying, the red car is nice. So it means the color, obviously, because I'm talking about it. And I read a book yesterday. I obviously mean the verb. So the only real way to know what homophone we're using is through context. Okay? So, my friends, we're at the end of the lesson. If you have one or two questions, go ahead, ask them right as I show you the promo code. All right. So, keep those questions coming just while I show you guys what the promo code is. It is Go Live. All right. So if you are not yet a member of Cambly, if you want to, get a plan for you, for your friend, for your husband or wife or significant other of any kind, you can sign them up and you can use this promo code to give you a nice little discount. If you are not a member of Cambly, I believe the discount can reach up to 30% or something like that. And even if you are a member of Cambly, it still gives you a nice discount. Okay? So check out the promo code. If you haven't signed up for Cambly, go do it right now. It's really, really nice. You can speak to many, many thousands of tutors, including me. If you want a class with me, you can just search for my name, or you can click the link below. I'm very easy to find. Just probably even you can just Google my name and I'll appear there. All right. So just to remind you guys, my name is Cuau. We will write it down in the description. There will be a link and everything will be good. All right. So search for me, guys, and I will be happy to give you classes about listening, pronunciation. I am a professional teacher and I am also an accent coach and a fluency coach to help you communicate better. All right, guys. Now let's answer some questions. Oh, thank you also, guys. Thank you all so much, guys, for your kind words. Thank you, Nawang. Thank you, Sounds of the Universe. Thank you, Kalipan. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rohini. Thank you, Khalid. Thank you, Ibtihal. Thank you so much. So, just one last question, I believe. Can you pronounce world and focus in the last part of Earl? Okay, that is a tricky little word. So what happens is that the R in were has to be really back. R, R, R. You can see all of my throat, right? R, R, R. But then the tongue goes back. That is the R in were. Then your tongue goes forward. Were, o, d. So it's three difficult little sounds. World, right? Then it shoots to the front, and then it taps your palate. World. That's the correct way to pronounce world. 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 Okay? So very, 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 very good. Ekab, thank you so much. Bushra, thank you so much. Kayla, thank you for your attention. Remember to share this as much as you can. Thank you so much, Adeshola, for being here. Thank you, Amano. Remember, guys, share this with your friends. Subscribe to the channel. We're almost at 150,000. That's going to make us really happy, and we're going to make sure to do something a little fun for you guys. All right? So bye-bye, guys. Have a great Sunday. Practice this as much as you can. Use that promo code. And remember that if you want some classes with me, you can just use the link below. All right? So take care of yourself, guys. See you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you, guys. Bye. Thank you. Thank you so much, guys. Bye, guys. Take care.